Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is a special bonus sneak peek of a coaching session that Coreen and I did. This is Ali Ansel speaking, that we make available for Patreon subscribers. Behind the paywall are a number of very private and intimate coaching sessions, and we post at least once a month. And we wanted to share at least a piece of one of those sessions so that you can see what we talk about. We may do this again in the future, but for now, here's 20 minutes of what's at least an hour long conversation where I have many epiphanies and lots to think about with Coreen coaching me through some interesting pieces that have been coming up with my life. So, without further ado, here is the session. Hope you enjoy it. Today, we're going to do a little coaching session. Coreen is going to coach me a little bit about something I've been sitting with around um, the value of preservation
Yeah.
and doing the little bits of self-coaching I've done so far, trying to figure out where this comes from. Is preservation a shadowy value of mine? And trying to figure out when it's showing up in a healthy way and when it's showing up in a way that I would like to coax it into a different uh, presentation of itself.
I'm looking forward to that. And I always find it so interesting to talk about like the shadowy value of something that isn't one of those tippy tops, but that plays a role and comes up and actually drives behavior that isn't everywhere, but it's enough that you're like, I need to look at that one. So I really appreciate the way you pull on these ones and like give it a name and then want to spend time with it and get to know it a little bit.
And I'm sure it will track back. It's like, here's the real life example. Now let's track it back to the core values.
Yeah,
And
peel them back a little bit because it's
mhm.
never, if it's acting up this like directing behavior, it's connected into some other ones. Let's map that.
Yes. So for context, this sort of came into my awareness a couple weeks ago, and it's happened before, but not landed in this particular way. Something to the effect of I went for a walk with some friends earlier in the morning on this lovely trail hike. And then and then the next day I was thinking, "Oh, that was so nice. I'd like to do another traily hike and like find something close to home to do." And then this little sense comes at me, which says something to the effect of, well, you just did a hike yesterday. You might not want to do another hike the next day because that's a bit too much. You might like use up all your energy. And it's like I have this strange sense that I only have a certain amount of energy to spend in my lifetime, and I need to not use it up or I will, I don't know, become like a withered old person who's like blown her load too early. But it's not like obviously going on a hike 2 days in a row is not like I could see doing too much cocaine. Sure. Don't do that too many times in a row. You will run out of what you need. And like, but it's for things that don't line up. Like my logical brain is like, that doesn't make sense. But there's this vague sense of warning, like preserve, preserve. You're going to need this later, or you only have so much of this to spare. And in this case, this is energy. But I've also had it for other things like my hair. I'll get in this mode sometimes where I'll be like, don't do your hair too many days in a row because that's taxing on the hair. And like, you know, blow drying it and putting products in it and washing it and all these things will make your hair stressed. So I'll like I'll lean too far that way and like to preserve my hair till the end of my lifetime. Um, don't engage with it too much.
Oh, I'm relating a lot to this.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Tell me other secrets that you know about me.
Oh, that's
That
funny.
is really interesting. I have had these thoughts as well. And they are like little secret whispers. And they're a little bit like, oh my gosh. Okay, let's go in. Let's use you as a little case study. And I'm excited about this one because I think this may be a little bit more ubiquitous or have more application with other folks. So thank goodness we're recording this. We're so wise. Yeah, so let's dive in and do a little bit more. Like I like how your two very different examples are showing a similar response or instigation of very different spaces. What is the definition for you for preservation?
The definition of preservation has a not waste component. Don't waste things, but
Yeah,
also like high standards around when to use the thing and when to instead save it. So in the case of energy, say for example, I had like my energy was actually just this like ball of sand. I don't know why I can't
yeah,
think of a bowl of sand. And every time I use energy, like grains of sand pour out. And
yeah.
so the preservation piece has something to do with discerning when to take some grains of sand and when to say no to the thing, when to say no to the interaction, to the opportunity, to the external thing that takes energy. Um, internal too, I'm not sure about that. In order to keep more grains of sand in the bowl. Without a an answer to the question for what? Like what is it being saved for?
Right.
Just to have, just to know that they're there. It's like a like confidence that I have capacity still because I haven't used up all my capacity.
Okay. And then does that translate over to the hair one? So do that same definition through the hair.
Yeah, so in that case, um, you only have so many hairs on your head and so many like healthy follicles, and each time you blow dry your hair, they get slightly more damaged. And
Mhm.
so the more you only have, like, this is too black and white, but if you blow dried your hair 100 times, your hair would be damaged to the point where of no return, whatever. So spread those out and only blow dry your hair. What are you going to do that day? Is it going to be something like nice hair worthy? Is it going to be a wasted good hair day? Not, and that's a couple things too, right? Because it takes energy to do your hair. So I'm wasting energy and I'm also wasting my hair quality. Um, I better have a reason to use it.
Mhm.
Funny, talking about the hair example makes it seem bigger than it is, but it is a good tangible example.
Yeah, there's something connected to both of these around longevity
Hmm.
or like if did you have these same thoughts and ideas when you were 20?
Um, yes. They also show
Yeah.
up around money too.
Yeah.
And actually the money example is interesting because it pendulum swings. On one side of it is preserve, preserve money, save money. Um, and then that becomes intolerable. And so then it swings to the other side, which is fuck it, I'm in a do what I want, spend what
Yeah.
I want. Um, maybe not care about my hair, maybe like waste food, maybe like all of these, and then
Yeah.
okay, that's
Live
enough,
while I can.
right? Mm. Not have the burden of management, not needing to think about it, not needing to
Mm.
have every decision go through a um, analytical process, not needing to use that level of restraint is what it is.
Mm.
The freedom that comes with, if I want to, I'll do it. And that's what I would love to tap into for these seemingly healthy choices. Like if I want to go on a hike,
Right.
go on the hike. But there's
Yeah.
this fear that I'll get like halfway through the hike and I'll be like, oh, fuck, I'm halfway done and I just unknowingly used up all the energy. So I'll just sit here, I guess.
I guess this is how it ends. I don't even have the energy to turn around and go back.
Yeah, that's right. That's it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Mm,
And so I think I'm circling this restraint versus freedom
mm,
piece, which might be kind of important, but it's a piece, but not the piece. Like, because I can see this showing up in a couple of them, but the hair one, does that land in that space too?
around
Freedom
restraint versus
versus
freedom.
restraint. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
I mean, there's that frivolity and worth it kind of thing as well.
yeah, it does show up in like if but I think there's something maybe about if the environment is right. Like say I'm going on a trip and it's such a good trip and it's just so worth my time. I'm loving it. I'm loving the people. I'm loving the things we're doing. I'm gonna let go of restraint in all of those ways.
Yeah.
The hair is gonna take a toll. Future Ali will think about that later. The bank account is gonna take a toll. All of the things are gonna take a toll to an extent, right?
Yep.
Um, my level of let loose is different than other people's, but my definition of let loose will be allowed without a lot of guilt when the right environment is there.
Hmm. Which sounds healthy.
Yeah, like saying it using that example of like while on vacation, things out of the ordinary happen, that does sound pretty common, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's explore the shadow piece. And I'm sure, a good reason why you're like, let's get kind of like a little furrowed brow on this one.
Mm,
So where's that shadowy end of the
right.
restraint versus freedom, or frivolity versus worth it, or the discernment? Do you want me to just do a little recap too on some of the other values that I picked up?
Sure.
Um, uh, let me finish circling them. Um, Discernment, warning and caution. That one was interesting.
Mm,
Capacity, health, vitality, quality, longevity. And then we get into those restraint, freedom, frivolity, worth it. Um, Vacation, that environment, worth it.
yeah.
Just look through my notes and see. Um, oh, and not wasting. And I think there's a more positive value rather than the negative value. But
Yeah. It's like, is preserving the same thing as not wasting?
yeah, that's exactly the opposite that I'm kind of going to. But I feel like there's something more than preserving.
Mm,
Maybe it is exactly it. But that warning piece too, I think it lives in a, like, that it comes out for you in that, ooh, you might want to be careful here.
mm,
In a similar way to intuition, but
mm,
it's not that same kind of loving um message that intuition has, which maybe is the red flag that it's um a fear-based thought.
right. Yeah, I'm also thinking as you're talking
Yeah.
about, um, oh, hi, you just disappeared completely. Oh, there you are. Backgrounds. I'm thinking, oh, and now I can't hear you.
Yeah, I pressed the space bar by accident.
You disappeared off the face of the earth just now. That's funny. Um, then a bit like unsettling. Like if that happened in real life, I'd be really concerned.
This would be very problematic. There she goes again,
Right? Right.
holding a seance. Oh my gosh.
Um, the other thing I was wondering about when you were talking about things like warning and caution and the little voice, definitely agree with you that it's worth considering the fear-based thought thing. I'm also pretty high in conscientiousness. Like when you think about the big five personalities, there is like a being high in conscientiousness is usually it usually shows up in like, am I acting the way I want to act? Lots of like reflection, lots of check-in, like wanting to know where the box is, and even if I'm playing outside the box, still wanting to know where the box is. So there's something I think there too about, am I playing by the rules that I that are set, whether I set them or someone else set them, which might be worth to talk for a minute. You and I were talking before about like generational influence
Yeah.
around things like preservation. Do you want to give the example that you were thinking of?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure which one you're thinking of because we were talking a lot about stuff.
I can
Are
give
you talking about
mine
like,
too.
yeah, you go ahead then. Yeah.
Um, my grandma growing up, when she moved out of her home to live in a home, my auntie found a closet chock full of tiny little bottles of shampoo and conditioner and little soaps and little sewing kits and little collections of things that she thought she might need, um, that were never used or opened, and just so much more than you would ever need unless there was some sort of crazy scarcity, right? And that generation experienced a lot of scarcity with the war. Um, and so we had a like for the next couple of Christmases, all of the kids were given these like little care packages of these tiny things to get them out of the house, to get rid of them and um but grandma had a very strong sense of preservation. Keep things, hang on to things, don't waste, but also acquire stuff just in case you might need it later. And my guess is not with a real answer in terms of when are you going to need this, more with a vague sense of just in case, you never know. And I do think that trickled down to my parents, and I think it trickled down to me to a lesser degree as well. So there's got to be something contributing um, to that, not overt messaging, but covert all over the place from top to bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely see that. And I think a lot of folks will resonate with that one about, we don't waste in this family. And we were exactly taught by example. And you can't help it. Like they lived through the depression, they lived through the war, famine, drought, horrible conditions, and they had to survive. They were in survival mode in a lot of ways for a lot of their lives. And then you can't just release that kind of, well, that's where generational trauma comes from. And and those are good lessons. We need to be able to hold those balances equally, as appropriate, like situationally, generationally appropriate. And it's could be fair to say that we've gone swung the pendulum the other way around, like way too much consumerism, way too much waste, too much what is it, like temporary possessions and things like that.
And that is the snippet from the coaching session with Coreen and I. Like I said, lots more really interesting stuff happens, and I'm still kind of processing it. So if you want to listen to the rest, you can click in the link below to start a free trial if you want. to check out the rest of this episode and the other episodes that are behind the paywall, and join us in our little small but mighty passionate community interested in talking about conflict and values and getting to know who we are and what we stand for. Hope to see you there.